alive yet, being only 25. So. Yeah. To get back to the ghost hunting portion of our podcast, how amazing is it that Jamie sees the same ghost time and time again, and she manages to think to herself, like, I just need to stop and have this conversation with her.
She's a pro.
Clearly.
Jamie's a pro.
Yeah. Good for you, Jamie.
Yeah. She knows what's up. Mm-hmm. She's helping out.
You know what we should have asked her?
What?
If she's seen that girl since they had that conversation. Did that girl just need to be able to tell someone her story? Jamie?
Jamie, send us a text.
Let us know. One of the other things that a lot of people don't know about Danvers is that Danvers actually used to be part of Salem. So nowadays, if you were to come and visit New England and you wanted to go to Salem, you would actually drive, how far is it? It's probably like 20 minutes out past Danvers. Yeah?
It's still pretty close.
But, I mean, it's going to take a while to get from where we were at Danvers all the way out to Salem Village.
Yes, from that part of Danvers to Salem Village.
Yes. So Danvers was, way back in the day, actually part of Salem, that they've split off into different towns since then. There's, like, the big park down in Salem Center, and then there's, like, the spooky no-traffic street. What's the name of that street?
That is part of Essex Street.
So Essex Street there. Yeah. And where all the people hang out and you can go get your fortune told or, like stop into any of the different stores there. And that's usually what people think of when they think of Salem. They don't think of this big sprawling area that Salem used to be. And so I bring this up because the famous Rebecca Nurse from the Salem witch trials, her house was actually in what's now Danvers, over by the Danvers State Hospital, near medium Jamie Day's house. So Jamie did also tell us a little bit about her experience with the Rebecca Nurse house.
Well, Danvers used to be Salem Village, so, like, a lot of the witch trial stuff happened actually here. Like, I can see Rebecca Nurse house from my house.
Cool. Really?
So, yeah. They won't let me in to ghost hunt, I'm sure. I grew up with the guy, the caretaker. I mean, I've been there and done stuff, and I've picked up on stuff. Even actually before I was a medium, like, doing stuff there. Before I knew I was a medium, I should say. My kids have even, like, seen stuff in the field at the Rebecca Nurse house. So.
Jamie's been in her community a long time.
Yes.
And she knows a lot of people and has obviously been a lot of places and done a lot of stuff in town. And as part of being somebody who's been around town forever, she obviously has all the stories. She did share with us a lot of different stories, and so we've kind of narrowed it down to a few really good ones that she shared with us, and so we have 4 of them here. The first one is about her in high school and her own experience in trying to get up into Danvers State Hospital.
So when I was in high school, this was kind of like the thing to do. It would get late at night and kids would come up and try and get inside. This was before it was condos. This was when it was the old abandoned hospital.
Yeah.
It was heavily monitored by police. I never made it inside, personally. I was kind of chicken, not of the ghosts, of the cops. So I never made it inside. But I have friends that did, and one of them tells a story about they had heard something, and they saw like a flashlight, and so they thought it was a security guard or a police officer. So they were trying to like quietly make their way out, and they went back down the hallway they had just come. She tells it better than I do, but they went back down a hallway that they had just come, and there was a suitcase in the middle of the hallway, like a 1950s old that hadn't been there. She swears up and down it hadn't been there when they first walked up the hall.
That's spooky.
Mm-hmm.
That's wicked spooky.
Mm-hmm.
I stand by my statement. That is wicked spooky.
That is wicked spooky.
Wicked spooky.
Suddenly, a suitcase shows up in the middle of the hall.
Yeah.
And you know that the Danvers cops and the Mass State Police were not coming along putting a suitcase in the hall to trip kids.
Probably not.
I'm 100% sure of it. They were under orders to arrest anyone on site. Like we talked about earlier when we were opening up, the idea that there are all of these condos all over where the hospital used to be. So the main building is still there, the facade of the administration building, but all of the outbuildings have been knocked down at this point. However, the people who have bought or rented the condos, the thousands and thousands of them that are everywhere, they also have a whole series of stories. And Jamie, being from town there, she has heard a lot of them. So she shared some of them with us here.
So the people that live in the condos now have lots of like experiences too. I actually last week someone messaged me, and I don't even know how she heard about me. I've never met her or anything like that. But she messaged me and was like, "Help! I just moved into the Bradley Apartments at Danvers State, and I keep seeing a woman in my bedroom at night." I've heard other stories. Like if you go on the Danvers Facebook page or, you know, like the town group, there are tons of stories. If you just search Danvers State, it's like everybody sharing their stories about stuff that they either saw when they snuck in as a kid or now the people that live here. So the woman is a common one. People see her in their bedroom, standing at the foot of their bed and walking down the street. Like in this little area, people see her out walking around.
She was like a patient or a nurse?
I think patient is like the overwhelming guess, but they said that they always describe her as wearing like a long flowy dress.
Is it
and
white?
Older?
Is she a woman in white?
I've heard it described as white by at least one person.
Potentially a woman in white hanging out at the old Danvers State Hospital.
Interesting.
Next week, I think we should play a drinking game with how many times we say interesting.
We say it a lot.
We do say it a
We
lot.
talk about interesting stuff.
Well, we do. We should come up with new words, though.
Okay.
And, dear listeners, as you heard, Danvers, Massachusetts has a Facebook page where everybody goes on and talks about their spooky sightings. So, by all means, try to join the Danvers Facebook page and you can get some extra spooky stories. So next, we have yet another story that Jamie is sharing with us just from the general Danvers area about kind of the most common apparition that shows up there. So the one that people are most likely to see if they were to buy or rent a condo up there.
What a wild spot.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that the old lady is like what people report seeing the most up here. I wonder if she was one of the caretakers. And now as I'm like trying to kind of feel into it, I even wonder if she was maybe like concerned, felt bad.
Well, because you said...
realized it was crappy.
When you said you see her standing at the end of the bed.
Yeah.
So often we hear stories from people from places and those are nurse spirits.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because nurses will come and stand at the end of beds.
And when...
like at that time period, especially.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. And I haven't experienced this woman myself. When
Right.
people tell me the story, is the way I even see it is like an older woman. And people have described her as like a long flowy dress. And I've heard her described as in white. But when I do my mediumship readings, people that are like flowy and white, those are good,
Right.
happy spirits.
Yes.
Those are loving spirits. And so I wonder if she is more of a positive one. You know, maybe she feels obligated to still keep an eye on everyone here. That idea is even amazing to me, that this place would, given all the tortured souls that are here, that like the primary spirit that is like haunting the residents would be a loving nurse.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad to think about if someone is stuck, but I think that makes sense.
Why do you think it makes so much sense?
That a nurse would be stuck there?
Yes.
Because you have all the doctors and people doing this kind of negative stuff. They have other focuses, right? And you have all these patients in a frame of mind, either going in with that frame or it becomes a certain way due to abuse or medication or whatever else. They're not totally hyper-focused on one thing. But you have the nurses who would then have all this energy that they're just pushing towards their patients in caring for people. Mm-hmm. So if you had someone who really genuinely, with all their heart, with all their soul, really cared and put in that energy to their work, then I think it would make sense that they would be the one who would stay there.
Their energy got stuck there. Okay. That does make sense.
Yeah.
Thank you for elaborating. So this next clip isn't necessarily a ghost part of the clip. However, it was a story that Jamie told us that, quite frankly, I found really funny. So I decided to keep it in, and I thought it was good anyway. So this was kind of like a real-life situation that would go on during the time that the hospital was up and running.
There was one story on the Facebook group about a guy who's now a grown adult, and he grew up in one of the homes nearby, like toward around the bottom. And he said his yard was kind of like a hill. And he said he looked out one time and could see a bunch of people running down the hill, and then could see a bunch of people chasing them.
Oh my goodness.
Coming right towards his house.
Oh my
And it was just like known back then that if you see that, you just lock the door and stay inside.
Yeah, for real. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's wild.
You didn't think that was a funny story?
Yeah, it's funny. It's a sad story.
I mean, it's very sad that this was like a common occurrence and people would know, like, if the people start running across your yard, like, don't freak out or anything. Just lock your door and continue about your business. Interrupt your family barbecue going on. Just shuffle everybody inside and wait until the escaped mental patients clear your yard. Yeah. How many times do you think we've been asked about, has a ghost ever followed you home from an investigation?
We've been asked a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've asked that question of other people as well.
Do I think it's as often as you've asked other people? Because you always ask everyone that.
Well,
it's relevant. It totally is relevant.
And it scares the heck out of me, the idea of, like, I'm going to get home and, like, something followed me. I don't want anything sticking to me. It just needs to stay where it is. I will come and visit it if I need to. Fair enough?
Yeah.
So naturally, got to ask Jamie. Hey, Jamie, has anything ever followed you home from an investigation?
I did a project and some readings up here like a year ago and tried to kind of connect with them, and one of them kind of stuck to me and came home with me. And I came home and I took a shower, and I could hear a man's voice in my living room, and my kids were out there, like, alone. I'm in the bathroom taking a shower, and my kids are in the living room, and I can hear a man's voice. And I'm like, I bust out of the shower, grab my towel, I run out, and I'm like, who's here? Who are you talking to? I'm freaking out. And they're not even in the playroom anymore, like the living room anymore. They're down in their bedroom. And they're like, what are you talking about? Nobody's here. I could hear it as clear as day. To me, I felt like there was something like, I felt like a pain like on one side of my face. I could feel like there was something like on one side of my face. And I posted about it on Instagram, and then a friend of mine who's a medium was like, oh my God, I see a man. Does he have, I didn't put that part on my Instagram. I just said, oh my God, I just heard this man's voice, listen to what just happened. And she said, I see, he's like half burned. And when she said it, she said the same side that I could feel like something wrong with his face. So
that's wild.
Yeah.
That's really the kind of thing that frightens me, that it's not only going to come home and follow me and terrorize me, but whatever it is might come home and wreak havoc for my family. So I find that whole idea terrifying. And Jamie, I should have followed up my question with you and asked if you ever heard him again, or if he's still there, or if you somehow had to do some sort of cleansing in order to get rid of him, or kind of what the follow-up on that was. So 2 follow-up questions now, Jamie. You'll have to get back to us on those. One of the things that we weren't able to get a recording of because we were up on the hill and there was just too much wind. We were all talking as we were up there doing the investigation about why there isn't any sort of like proof from inside the old hospital of hauntings in there. Jamie talked for a while about different ghost hunting teams that have been in there. There was only one team that supposedly got inside and got proof during a nighttime ghost hunt. The thing is, like, if you're a ghost hunting group and you actually got proof that there were ghosts inside of abandoned hospital, wouldn't you be tripping over yourself in order to actually get that proof out to the public?
Yes.
So what do you think their holdup is?
I have no idea.
Can you take any guesses?
No. I think that's ridiculous.
Some of the ideas that we kicked around while we were actually there with the idea of, well, maybe they're afraid of getting fined, or they're afraid of some sort of like trespassing charge. But the thing is, 2006 was more than 7 years ago, which would be the statute of limitations on that. If you had proof, you think that it would be fine. Like, you could certainly release at this point that you had been inside the old state hospital and that you had proof that there were ghostly happenings in there. Also, even if they were going to hit you with a fine or a trespassing, like, you're a ghost hunter. Like, you would think that you would want to put it out there as, here is proof, definitely. And I think that by saying, like, we have proof, but we're not going to release it is nonsense.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So Danvers State Hospital was there from the 1880s until they closed it down in 1992. And then the land was sold to a developer in 2006. So for that 14 years or so there, it was just all sorts of a hot mess. But it was very heavily guarded by both the Mass State Police and the Danvers local town police. My understanding is that it was really difficult for anybody to be getting in there. When they closed down the hospital, back in 1992. Amelia and Jamie had gone back to the buggy location, and because I'm a big baby, I don't like bugs. So I didn't find out about this part of the conversation until I was doing some pre-production editing to get these clips ready. But they talked a lot about when they closed the asylum. So here's Amelia and Jamie talking through what went into the planning of closing down the state hospital.
Okay, so you've lived in Danvers your whole life?
Yeah, I mean, I lived away for a little while, but grew up here, yes.
So were you around here